Hello and welcome to my channel. In this tutorial I wanted to show you a headband to crochet with this stitch. This is very warm. This is for windy, cold, really cold days. Yeah, I'm gonna show you how to do the foundation chain, and then you can chain as long as you want. You just go around your head and make sure that it's not too loose or too tight, the foundation chain. You can do a neck warmer, you can do an infinity scarf with this, and the foundation chain that I'm gonna show you, you can use that for many other projects. Yeah, it's really easy and really fast. This one might eat some yarn, so make sure that if you are to make a hat, you have enough yarn to finish this. This sample, the yarn, I worked with 3.5 millimeter crochet hook, so the yarn is not so thick, and I went 4 times to do this puff. 4 times I went through the stitch. Yeah. Okay, for this sample I chained foundation chain 57 stitches, so it's a little bit tight for me as an adult. I think for a child between 12 maybe 14, 16, maybe it's just perfect, this size, 57 chains. But if you want for an adult, maybe you should chain 59, 61. Anyway, we have to keep these numbers of stitches odd number to do this working with this stitch anyway. So now I'm gonna show you how to work the foundation chain. I'm gonna use 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. The yarn that I'm using now is asking for 8/0 crochet hook. So, well, the way we do the foundation chain, you're gonna do the knot the way you like to do the knot. I just put the yarn like this, give it a twist, pull the yarn through this loop, and you have the knot in there. So now this is a very easy basic foundation single crochet. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna chain 2 chains, so 1 and 2, and then we're gonna go to the first chain that we did in there. We're gonna go through that chain, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull the yarn through this first loop, yarn over the hook, and pull the yarn to the last 2 loops. And we're gonna work through this line here. There is a line there. Yeah, so we're gonna go through that line, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull the yarn to the first loop, pull the yarn through the last 2, and again we're gonna work with this line here. Yeah, we're gonna pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull the yarn through the first loop, and then pull the yarn to the last 2, and again we're gonna go through this line, and we're gonna do the same. I'm gonna pick up a loop, then pull the yarn through the first loop, pull the yarn to the last 2. So you're gonna keep doing like this. So the line is right here, so you're gonna go through that line, and you're gonna pick up a loop, pull the yarn through the first loop, pull the yarn to the last 2, and you're gonna do like this. So here we have 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, with this stitch you're gonna have to work with odd stitches. Yeah, so in here I have 17, just making a small sample just to show you. So with this I chained 17 stitches we have here. So what we're gonna do, when you have enough, then you're gonna go through this line like the normal, the way we do the cast the stitches. So you're gonna pull up a loop, leave the loop there on the hook, and then how you have this, you're gonna twist this a little bit like that, and then you're gonna bring the rest of the foundation chain. Yeah, make sure that it's not twisted. Yeah, so we're gonna go through the first chain here that we did in the beginning. You're gonna go through that, pick up a loop, then you're gonna take this loop like slip stitch through this first one. Yeah, and then yarn over and pull the yarn to the last 2, and you're gonna have the stitches on top here. So So now what we're gonna do after we did that well, single crochet through these 2 loops, we're gonna go to the first stitch right here. It's this one. So we're gonna pull up a loop and we're gonna do a slip stitch. So pull this loop through this one, and that it's a slip stitch. Yeah. Now we're gonna chain 1, and now we're gonna start the stitch. Make sure that the chain, the foundation chain, is not twisted. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna skip the next stitch, and into the next we're gonna do a single crochet. This has only 1 row repeat, this stitch, so it's very easy. So now we're gonna go back to the stitch that we skipped, this one, and in here we're gonna do a puff. Well, now depends how thick it's your yarn. My yarn is very thick, so I'm gonna go only 3 times through that stitch that I skipped. Yeah, so we're gonna go back to that stitch that we skipped, pull up a loop, yarn over the hook, go back again through that stitch, pull up a loop, second time, yarn over the hook, go back again for the 3rd time. So we have all the loops here, pull the yarn through all the loops. We're not going to chain anything. Skip the next stitch. Don't confuse this one, because in this one we did a single crochet. Yeah, so skip the next stitch, and into the next we're going to do the same, single crochet first. Yeah, and then we're going to go back to the stitch that we skipped, and we're going to do a puff. So we go once, yarn over the hook, go back again, 2nd time, yarn over the hook, go back again for the 3rd time, yarn over, pull the yarn through all the loops, and we're gonna do like this. Skip the next stitch, and into the next we're gonna do the same, single crochet, and now we're gonna go back to the stitch that we skipped, and we're gonna start pulling up loops. So once, twice, and the 3rd time, pull the yarn through all the loops. Skip the next stitch, and into the next we're gonna do the same, single crochet first, and then we're gonna go back to the stitch that we skipped, and we're gonna do a puff. So once, twice, and the 3rd time, pull the yarn through all the loops. Skip the next stitch, and into the next we're gonna do the same. We go back to the stitch that we skipped, pull the yarn through all the loops. Skip the next stitch, and into the next we're doing the same, single crochet first. We go back to the stitch that we skipped, and we're gonna do the puff. So once, twice, and the 3rd time, pull the yarn through all the loops. Skip the next stitch, and into the next I'm gonna do the same. We go back to the stitch that we skipped, and I'm gonna do a puff in there. So I'm going only 3 times, because this yarn is really thick. So the sample that I did was the yarn was thin, so I went 4 times. So skip the next stitch, and into the next we're doing the same, single crochet first. We go back to the stitch that we skipped and do a puff. So we have left 2 stitches here, 1 and 2. We're gonna skip the next stitch, and into the next we're gonna do a single crochet. We're gonna do the same, single crochet, and we're gonna go back to the stitch that we skipped, this one, and we're gonna do a puff. So once, twice, and the 3rd time, pull the yarn through all the loops. And now we're gonna go straight to the puff, this first puff here. On top there is a stitch, yeah, so we're gonna skip and we're gonna go there, and we're gonna do a slip stitch, yeah. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go back to this in here. Let me show you, just to make sure that you, so we have here a chain, the chain one that we did in the beginning, the previous row. what we're gonna do, we're gonna go straight to this puff here on top there, and we're gonna do a slip stitch, and then we're gonna go to that chain, one chain from the previous row, and we're gonna do a puff. So you go through that and you start picking up loops once, twice, and the third time pull the yarn through all the loops. And now you're gonna do the single crochet on top of the puff. There is the next puff, so we're gonna do the single crochet through the stitch on top of the puff, and the puff we're gonna do to that single crochet from the, you know, the puff before. So you're gonna go on top of the puff and you're gonna do a single crochet, and you're gonna go back to this and you're gonna do a puff. Again, you're gonna skip the next stitch and into the next, which is on top of the puff. We're gonna do in there a single crochet, and we're gonna go back to the stitch that we skipped, and we're gonna do a puff. Skip the next stitch and into the next, which is the stitch on top of the puff, and in there we're gonna do a single crochet, and we're gonna go back to that stitch that we skipped, and we're gonna do a puff. So skip the next stitch and into the next, we're gonna do the same, single crochet first, and we're gonna go back to this that we skipped in there, and we're gonna do a puff. Skip and into the next, single crochet. Now we go back to that one and do a puff. This is a very warm headband. You can do a hat. So skip the next and into the next, we're gonna do the same, single crochet, and we go back to the stitch that we skipped and do a puff. So skip the next and into the next, right there, the stitch on top of the puff. We're gonna do a single crochet, and we're gonna go back to the one that the stitch that we skipped and do a puff. So that's why I like to have the tail here, that I can see what, you know, where I joined the foundation chain. So from now on, you're gonna skip the next stitch and into the next, the stitch on top of the, you're gonna do a single crochet, you go back to the stitch that you skipped, you're gonna do a puff stitch, again you're gonna skip the next, and into the next you're gonna do the same. So what are you gonna do? You're not gonna chain anymore when you join, or slip stitch or whatever, when you join the row. You're just gonna go around and around. So you skip the next stitch and into the next, you're gonna do a single crochet, you're gonna go back to the stitch that you skipped, and you're gonna do a puff. So in here is the moment when after you finish the work, you see, I went only 3 times and the puffs are so big, and the yarn is thick. So if your yarn is thinner, if you like the puffs to be big, then you're gonna do maybe 4 times you're gonna go through. So now let's say you want to finish, because we started with the foundation single crochet, it's nice to finish the same, unless you like to leave it like this, yeah, the way it is on top, no problem. But what you're gonna do when you reach the end of the row, when you start a new one, you're gonna go to the next stitch. In each stitch you're gonna do single crochet. That's what you're gonna do, and this is how you finish the row, just to have the same, the bottom and the top to be the same. So you go through each stitch and you're gonna do single crochet, it's gonna look much nicer. I think think you can do a neck warmer, you can do an infinity scarf, but this stitch is gonna need a lot of yarn, a lot. More than normal. Puffs usually take a lot of yarn. But I think if you like to go skiing, or I think a headband with this will be nice. If you don't want the full hat. So the last stitch is here, you're gonna go in there and you're gonna do a single crochet, and then you're gonna, the next stitch, you're gonna do a slip stitch. You can go the next stitch and do a slip stitch. Yeah. So then this is the end. Yeah. You're gonna chain one, you're gonna cut the yarn, pull the yarn, and then you're gonna hide the tail, and that's about it. It's a very easy stitch. Look at this, you can make a bracelet, you can make a basket with this stitch if you like. Well, you have to worry about the bottom. But it's really nice for a headband, really nice. And I think it looks much nicer with thicker yarn than this one, because if I am to pull, you will see it's like this. Yeah. This one is really nice for a basket, for a neck warmer. Oh, it's cute. Okay, well, thank you for watching. Give it a try to this stitch and do a headband. You're gonna love it. It's really warm, I can assure you. Puffs usually they're warm. Yeah. Okay, well, have a good day. Bye bye.